discussed, but we will discuss it again. Yes, this autonomic nuclear, parasympathetic nuclear cranial nerves. And also you know that there is sacral part in parasympathetic nervous system. And it is located, where is it located?
Which one?
Sacral part of central part of parasympathetic nervous system.
Central part.
It is located in sacral segments from S2 to S4, yes? And for sympathetic nervous system, where is central part located? Where are sympathetic nuclei?
From the level of C8 to L2 in the lateral horn.
In the lateral horn, yes, that is true. And so for the next lesson, you will draw somatic and autonomic reflex arches, and you have to know what is the differences, yes? So for somatic, I'm just reminding you that the simplest somatic reflex arch should have two neurons, yes, the simplest. First, it is sensory neuron, its body is located in the dorsal root ganglion. And then, second, it is motor neuron, its body is located in the anterior horn, and axons of this, they exit through anterolateral sulcus and reach working organ. Yes, this is second order neuron. So, the least amount of neurons in somatic reflex arch is 2. When we talk about autonomic reflex arch, the main difference is in the number of motor neurons. So, for autonomic reflex arch, motor neurons are always 2, and body of first motor neuron is located inside CNS, and second motor neuron, they are located outside of CNS. But as always, there is sensory neuron whose body is located in the dorsal root ganglion, or maybe in any of sensory ganglia of cranial nerves. Here we can understand it, yes, now. And then axon of this sensory neuron. If we talk about sympathetic reflex arch, yes, it enters through posterolateral sulcus and reaches body of the first motor neuron, viscera motor neuron, yes, that is located in the lateral horn of spinal cord, in the segments from C8 to L2. Yes, and axons of these neurons, they live through anterolateral sulcus, and they come to ganglia, yes, to autonomic ganglia. Now we know that ganglia can be of two types, yes, sensory and autonomic. So autonomic ganglia are formed by bodies of the second motor neurons, but for reflex arch, they are third order neurons, yes, because there is also first order neuron that is sensory. And then axons of this second motor neurons, they reach working organ. What is the main difference functionally between somatic and autonomic reflex arch? Somatic reflex arch supplies organs which we can control. And what is it? It is striated muscular tissue, yes, skeletal muscles mainly. Effectors, they are skeletal muscles. Autonomic nervous system supplies organs which we cannot control. These are smooth muscular tissue or cardiac striated, yes, or smooth. Smooth, when we look into the microscope, we don't see any stria, so that's why like that. And also, not only smooth muscles are supplied by this autonomic nervous system, but also glands. Yes, we also cannot regulate how much gastric juice we will produce during this minute. It depends on this autonomic stimulation. And so this is the simplest autonomic reflex arch. Yes, it should contain at least 3 neurons. So, and there are 2 motor neurons. And second motor neuron is located in the ganglia. Yes, that's why those fibers, axons of the first motor neuron, they are known as pre-ganglionic fibers. Yes, before the ganglion, pre-ganglionic. And those axons of second motor neuron, which arise from the ganglion, they are named post-ganglionic fibers. And when at the very first lesson in this semester we studied these general questions, general issues of nervous system, we were saying that most neurons in our body, axons of these neurons, they are covered by Schwann cells. You remember, yes?
Yes.
And all the Schwann cells in one axon, as they form myelin sheath. we discussed, yes?
Yes.
And we were saying that this myelin sheath has a white color. Due to it, this white matter that contains processes of neurons, it is white, yes? And gray matter that contains mainly bodies of neurons, it is darker. That's why it is gray. Now, we have to say that not all the fibers are myelinated. So for somatic neurons, yes, all of them are myelinated. And this presence of Schwann cells, it makes this saltatory conduction, yes, possible. So when impulse like jumps from one node of Ranvier to another node of Ranvier, it's very fast. So for somatic fibers, it's always like that. But for autonomic, only preganglionic fibers are myelinated. So that's why when we were drawing a structure and branches, formation of branches of spinal nerves, we were saying that white communicating branches which arise from trunk of spinal nerve to autonomic ganglion, they are white, now we can say, because they are myelinated. So now we can also understand that preganglionic fibers form white communicating branches, yes? And those fibers which start from the ganglion, postganglionic fibers, they are non-myelinated.
Gray communicating.
Yes, and that's why they are gray communicating branches. But, that is, yes, fact. But what you have to understand, degree of myelinization is also different. For somatic fibers, we will study it as a lecture, I will tell you. There are three types of myelinization of fibers. There are A, B, and C fibers. So A fibers are those which are highly myelinated, like somatic fibers, yes? B fibers, they are slightly myelinated. There is myelin sheath, but not that much high, not that much thick, yes? And that's why speed of impulse conduction is definitely slower, yes, than in somatic fibers. And C fibers, they are totally non-myelinated. These are postganglionic fibers. Yes, so that's what you will have to understand. And so along this postganglionic fibers, impulse is conducted slower, much slower than in preganglionic fibers. You also know it from school, you have to listen to the lecture, no, it's very simple information, that for sympathetic nervous system, this ganglia, most of them, is located in sympathetic chain, yes, sympathetic trunk, that is located laterally from vertebral column. In our preparation, sympathetic chain is visible. We'll try to look at it at the next lesson. No, it's just that I think I even showed it to you before. No, if not, we will see. Well, and this sympathetic chain consists of this. Again, at the lecture, this doctor, he showed it to you, consists of numerous ganglia, which are connected with each other by means of interganglionic fibers. So sympathetic chain is located close to spinal cord, and that's why we can say that preganglionic fibers in sympathetic nervous system are much shorter than postganglionic. For parasympathetic nervous system, ganglia are located very close to the organ which they supply, or even inside the wall of this organ. So for parasympathetic nervous system, preganglionic fibers are longer than postganglionic. There is one question which I can never find an answer. So preganglionic fibers are myelinated, yes? Postganglionic fibers are non-myelinated. Speed of impulse conduction along postganglionic fibers is slower than along preganglionic.
Yeah, it's true.
Like yes, it is.
Yes.
What I don't understand, we need much faster reaction in case of sympathetic stimulation. Yes, we should react very fast. But if to take into consideration that for sympathetic nervous system, preganglionic fibers are much shorter than postganglionic, then nearly the whole way impulse passes along non-myelinated fibers, yes? So then it must be slower, yes? Then for parasympathetic stimulation, when nearly the whole way it passes along the preganglionic fibers. So why is it like that, and is it really like that, for sympathetic nervous system impulse spreads slower than for parasympathetic? This I don't understand. I actually even asked Dr. Kupriyanov, and he also couldn't give me an exact answer. So still every year I'm asking students to give me an answer, they never find. Well, that's it. So this is general.
You are giving us challenge.
Yes, maybe after 50 years, maybe I will get an answer. At least, fine. No, I was thinking maybe problem is in the mediator. Yes, neurotransmitters are also different. But I asked Dr. Kuprianov, he said that all the neurotransmitters have nearly equal also speed of transmission of nerve impulse. No, I don't know, yes. Okay, so this you will draw at the next lesson. Somatic and autonomic reflex touches, and you have to know the differences. You also have to know the differences between sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. You have to know structure of sympathetic chain, like all the ganglia, all the branches of all the ganglia. You have to revise this central part, like cranial part of parasympathetic nervous system, and study sacral. And you have to know the main plexuses, formation and branches, the main autonomic plexuses of human body. Celiac plexus, superior inferior mesenteric plexuses, superior and inferior hypogastric. Actually, it's not difficult because this sympathetic plexus, autonomic plexuses, they spread along the branches of corresponding arteries. So they follow the arteries. And if you know cardiovascular system, it's not difficult for you to study these plexuses. We will just revise cardiovascular and talk about autonomic also. And that will be our last topic. So after that we'll have that chart. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So